I'll quickly cover one topic so that you will get the flavor how we are supposed to cover our training, right? So we will discuss about material requirement planning. This is a very you can say the production planning module is a heart of production planning. Okay, material requirement planning, MRP. You must heard about MRP, right? So what MRP is, what MRP actually does, why it is required. Okay, and it's not just SAP who is doing MRP, right? So basically, what is MRP? At a very high level, if you are talking about MRP, MRP is nothing but it's a planning engine, okay, developed by SAP. It's a planning engine which ensures the right material at right quantity at right place at right time. Okay, this is very high level definition that I'm going to talk. Okay, just a minute. There is one more. Rishabh. Okay, Rishabh, you just put your questions over there. Parminder is there who will help you out to answer it. Okay. If anything, we will cover again the session, question and answer after this session. Okay. Okay. So I'm talking about material requirement planning. Okay. So basically, material requirement planning is the engine which ensures the right material at right quantity at right place at right time. So this is not a terminology that is material requirement planning. That terminology is not just coming up with SAP. Any ERP in the world who work on that kind of material planning, okay, material requirement planning. So SAP also have one this planning engine, right? Who actually does the same kind of thing, the same way where if you look into Oracle or any other kind of ERP system, they do also have the same kind of material planning. So basically, this is required. What is my required? What is my required quantity? And what should I produce? And to produce that much of quantity, what should I purchase from the outside? This is all talk about material requirement planning. Okay. Now we will talk about in more detail about MRP. Okay. So to understand in detail what I'll do, I'll just create one demo company for you. Okay. Let's say this is my production plant where I have one manufacturing line. Okay. So what I'll do, yeah, this is my production plant, let's say, where I do have one manufacturing line or production line where I'm actually doing the production. Okay. So I'll say this is my production line. To understand a detail about MRP, we will take one example so that you will be better understanding. Okay. Now this is my production line. At the same time, I do have some storage location where I used to store my raw material stock. Okay. RM store, where I'm storing my raw material. And also, let's say I do have one finished material store in the same company. I'll put it here as a FG store. FG store, where after manufacturing, I'm keeping my finished material over there. Now, let's say we do have one customer who is asking or who is requesting some material or finished product, right? So I'll put my customer over here, customer. And also, we do have one vendor who is supplying me a raw material. Okay. Now, basically, what happens in the any company, we do have this kind of setup. Okay. Also, we do have, let's say, one sales department, one production department, right? I'll put it here so that PROD production department. Okay. I'll put it little small. Okay. We do have production department who takes care about the production processes. We do have one sales department. Okay. Here I'll put it as a sales department who takes care about all sales operations and planning. And also we do have one purchase department or procurement department who takes care about the raw material procurement from the vendor. Okay. Procurement department. Now in any ideal situation, what happens? The customer came up with a requirement to the salesperson or sales department. Okay. Customer saying, hey, I need this material of this quantity. Okay. Then what happened? The salesperson used to punch the sales order in the system. Let's say there is a requirement from customer. Okay. Sales order will just punch the sales order in the system. Then system should identify which material need to produce based on that. And the same way, the production department, before starting the production, what they will do, they will go to the procurement department and they will ask to the procurement department to purchase the raw material, right? If there is a raw material, then only production person can start the production, right? So the procurement department, what he used to do, he used to create the purchase order or purchase requisition, send it to vendor, and finally, vendor will come up with raw material that will be stored in my raw material store. From where, once raw material is available, I'll just pick up the raw material and I can start my production. So production planning can start their production line. They will do produce the finished material, came up back at a finished store, and finally that finished material will get shipped to the customer, right? So if you talk the first line, this is nothing but planning where customer is asking for the finished material, right? Where based on the customer requirement, sales department is going ahead and giving an intimation to the production department to start the production. And based on the production load, production people goes to the procurement department and they are asking for the raw material. But in the real situation, is it the ideal scenario like this? People are going there manually and asking for the requirement, like how much need to produce. If I'm having thousands of customer and I'm producing different thousands of different finished material, there are continuously sales orders and demands are coming from the customer. Is not an ideal way that person to person is going over there and intimating it, right? Let's say we will talk about one example. Let's say there is a finished material and customer is asking for 100 pieces. Okay, customer is asking for 100 pieces to the sales department, right? Now what sales department will do? Sales department need to go and check whether this finished material is already available at a finished store. Okay, and based on that they need to say, okay, this much quantity is required, but we do have already 50 quantity. Let's say I'll take an example. We do have already 50 quantity available. Okay, so in ideal scenario, salesperson or the intimation to the production team should go to start the production only for 50, right? So based on that 50 finished material, system should or any planning engine should check how much is the raw material requirement, right? Maybe I don't have any raw material available in the store. So based on that requirement, it should trigger to the procurement department asking go and purchase this raw material for a 50. Let's say it's a one-to-one combination, right? Based on that, purchase department will create the purchase order to the vendor for 50 quantity. Vendor will come up with this 50 quantity, right? It will get stored it at your store, and then only you can start your production, so that after production you will have 50 plus 50, right, is equal to 100. Hence that 100 can fulfill the customer demand. Now this is very simple example that I have taken. There is only one finished material, only one production line, right? And there is that not that much complicated. But still, if at any company, if you're thinking on any company prospect, okay, it's not that easy for anyone to do this manual. Even though if you are doing it in Excel, that is also fine. But if you are having thousands of different finished material, thousands of different customer, each customer is having different planning strategy, or maybe at a production department, or there are some kind of make to stock product. At the same time, in the same company, we are manufacturing make to order product also, configured to customer product also, right? So all this planning, all this calculation is not easy to do manually at any point in time, right? For that, SAP or any ERP, okay, now we are talking about SAP. SAP came up with one planning engine, okay? This planning engine is nothing but my material requirement planning, MRP, okay? Just do one thing, just a minute. I'll put this way, okay? Okay, I'll create a different color for that, okay? I'll put that color as a red. So to do all this calculation, SAP came up with planning engine, and that is nothing but your material requirement planning. So basically what material requirement planning does, material requirement planning engine will do this thing, okay? First thing that it will check what are the different sales order, okay? Sales orders or any plan independent requirement, right, are there, or any customer demand is nothing but demands are there, right? Also, it used to check what is my in-hand stock, right? Then I'll just put it like this. Yeah. Also, it will check what is the in-hand stock. Then it check, are there any planned receipt, or are there any production orders going on, right? It also check open production orders or plan orders, I'm talking, right? Also, it check the stock for FG, SFGs, raw materials, all stock it used to check, right? And based on that, it any reservations, like there, if there are any production order going on, for that there might be already reservations booked for that material, right? Any open PR, open purchase requisitions, or purchase order that procurement department has already sent to the vendor, if there are already open purchase requisition, all this will be taken care in the MRP engine. And finally, it used to calculate the shortages. Okay, I'm saying short. So these shortages, based on your requirement, based on your current stock, based on your any running production order, any open purchase equation, purchase orders, based on that, it used to calculate the shortages. Okay. Once these shortages are there, then your planning engine decide what to do next for that shortages. What need to do? Either you need to purchase it from the outside, or you need to do produce it. So it create the procurement proposals calling purchase requisition for externally procured material, and purchase order or plan order for in-house material. Plan order for in-house material. This is what our MRP planning engine does. Okay. Now, is this the, if you are looking here, the same thing, the manually the any planner is doing based on the requirement, what based on the current stock situation, what need to do, this planning engine will do one with for you in a single click. This is nothing but your MRP planning engine. It's not only just check about the shortages and this thing. Okay, based on the customer demand, let's say customer is asking for a material, let's say today is 11th, right? And is asking for next week, let's say 18th of the month, customer is asking that finished material. It also used to check whether there is a capacity of manufacturing of that material, to manufacture that material, right? How many days it's actually required. Based on that, it checks and it create the scheduling. It will say, okay, if the requirement is on 18th, we should start our production maybe on 15th, because 3 days is the manufacturing time, right? That also it checks. So technically, if you are saying what MRP engine is doing, okay, I'll put it here. If we are saying technically what SAP MRP engine is doing is first checking the net requirement calculation. Okay, it checks what is the in-hand stock, what is the requirement, right? Then it checks the lot size calculation. Lot size calculation. That means if the requirement is 1000, right? So whether system should create only one plan order of 1000, or there should be a 10 different plan orders of 100 based on the manufacturing or these things. So this thing MRP will do. Finally, it check the requirement date, and based on that, it do the scheduling. If requirement date is on 18th, right? Then on which date the production has to be start, right? If my production time, if my machine is manufacturing 10 pieces per day, okay, and the requirement is, let's say, 20 pieces, right? And if requirement 20 pieces, that means we need to have at least 2 days of production time, right? So based on that, system is saying, okay, requirement is on 10th, then we should start our production at least on 8th, so that you will be able to fulfill the customer demand. And once it's done, finally it will do bomb explosion. Finally, it will check, okay, this is the finished material we need to produce. For that, what are the raw materials required? And the same fashion, if that raw material, again, it will check whether raw material stock is available. Then again, for that raw material, it will do the net requirement calculation, lot size calculation, scheduling based on the, let's say, the raw material is coming from some different country, okay, and it takes, let's say, 10 to 15 days or maybe 1 month of scheduling, 1 month of lead time, right? So based on that, system propose the purchase requisition in advance, right, by this planning engine, and it says, okay, if you want to start the production on this date, your raw material should be available on these dates. And to get the raw material on time, you should create your purchase requisition or procurement proposal by considering this lead time, right? So this is technically material planning engine does. It's not just calculate, do the calculation for raw material, this thing, shortages and all that things. It do the calculation of these things. Okay. So basically, material requirement planning is nothing but it's a planning engine which ensures you the right material at right quantity at right place at right time, right? And for that, we need to have configuration setup in the SAP. So this MRP engine is not only in SAP. There could be a different kind of MRP engine. Like there are some companies who are not working on SAP. They do have still MRP engine. They are doing something in Excel. Some Oracle is also they are having one MRP, but the same kind of calculation they are doing in SAP. This is how SAP material requirement planning work. Now we will talk about SAP Classic MRP. Although we do have this planning engine available, okay, in SAP, but this planning engine is having some disadvantages. First, the main thing, the main advantage, for that MRP is the performance. Those who are already working in any company or any SAP, you must know we used to run this MRP at a night time when the user's load on the system is less, because it actually reduce the system performance and it also impact on your day-to-day transaction. And that is why we used to run this engine or run this material planning in the night time, because it's heavily impact on your system performance. It may slow down your system, right? So that is the major disadvantage in classic MRP. I'm talking about classic MRP, okay? So this is the one of the advantage. That is why we need to run this in a night time. Okay. Also, as I said, we are running, system is doing the calculation and everything. Okay. Let's say at night time we are running and system is doing calculation. Customer requirement is 100. Based on that, my stock is 50. So system should create the plan order of 50. System is creating the plan order at night, let's say 12 o'clock when you are running, and it's proposing we should have one plan order. But what will happen if the person or on the next day morning, if someone is coming and again creating one more sales order of, let's say, 100 quantity more? Okay, earlier quantity is 100. Again, second day there is one sales order coming up. Now here the planning is only for 50, right? Because we have done this calculation at a night time, and now in the morning there is one more sales order coming up. Now this sales order is not considering any or MRP. That is why this planning engine is called static engine. Okay, because we have static results for that. Also, we have, if you go to the SAP production planning, MRP results and this thing is kind of, results which are coming out from the MRP are little complicated. Okay. Little complicated results is for any new person or the planner. It's not that easy to understand all the procurement proposal what SAP has proposed. And many company, that's the reason many company or many people are not actually believing on the MRP results. There are different X factors. Okay, there could be like the master data setup is not well. That is the why system is proposing some different outputs or something. But overall, if you are looking into the MRP results in the static our classic MRP, these are a little bit complicated. Also, if you are talking about the MRP engine, our classic MRP is not actually working on the constraint based planning. Okay, capacity constraint I'm talking about here, capacity constraints. So when we are doing planning in SAP, system is not checking the capacity. Let's say for this production line I'm talking about, per day capacity is 100. Okay. And my requirement on today's date, I'm punching one sales order on today's date saying I need 100 today. So system is saying, okay, you can start your production today so that it will get end up by tomorrow. That's it. Again, if someone is coming and again creating one more customer order or one more sales order for 100 on the same day, system is not checking, okay, there is already capacity overloaded for one order and it should start on the next day or it should start on the, let's say, past. That kind of planning facility is not there in our uh, classic MRP. System will book both the order on the same day saying machine is always available for the production. Then it's planner job to check which is the rush order, which is the important order, and he has to manually shuffle the order from one day to other day. Okay, maybe on today this is the important order that has to be complete first, and maybe we can do the next order on next day. That's how planner has to do the capacity planning and capacity leveling. So these are some major drawbacks. Okay, that is there in our classic MRP planning engine. Also, if we go to the system, you'll come to know you will not be able to run MRP for multiple multiple plant selection. When you are running the MRP, material requirement planning, for any plant, you don't have that option available where you are able to give all the plants in one go, right? For that, you need to create the scope of planning. You need to, say, okay, first this plant will run, then second this plant, then third this plant. This kind of planning you need to do, scope of planning you need to do. Then only that will be covered all the plants in one planning run. So this facility is not there available in the classic MRP, and that is why these are very high level disadvantages I'm talking about. These kind of problems are there in our SAP classic MRP, and that is why SAP came up with the SAP MRP Live. Okay, where SAP tried to cover most of the problems what we are seeing. This is the performance issue. Then you are supposed to run only once in a night time. Now with SAP MRP Live, you, due to the new improved database, yes, for HANA database, you can run your MRP at any time. Earlier, it was my personal experience. We used to take around 4 to 5 hours to run MRP, okay, for one couple of plants. Now that 4 to 5 hours has been, the time has been reduced to only 10 minutes. So although their system is getting little slow, but it's only for 10 minutes, right? So you can run your MRP anytime in the MRP Live, by the MRP Live in SAP S4 HANA. That's why it's called, it's not a static engine. It's now a dynamic engine. Let's say the same example, at night time, the requirement was 50. But again, in the morning, someone is coming and again placing one order of 100. Then you can, after placing that order, you can again rerun the MRP. System will propose the new proposal. Instead of 50, it will be 150. System will say, okay, in that case, you need to manufacture 150. So you can run anytime your MRP now with MRP Live. That is the beauty of SAP S4 HANA. Okay. So this is what we talked about the MRP. Now I'll try to show you the system, okay, and maybe for you, the people who are very fresh in SAP and who are actually don't know about SAP, they will get some problem to understand the things. But in our end-to-end session, when we start our training, we will cover all these topics in very detail, okay, and then we will go to the system and we will try to correlate all the topics one by one. Now what I'll do, I'll go to the system and I'll try to show you how actually SAP is doing this kind of planning, okay, and what is the difference in your SAP MRP and MRP Live. Okay, let's say this is the system. We will talk about First MRP, MD01. This is the classic MRP, okay? And I'll open one more screen that SAP S/4HANA has provided, that is MD01N, okay? Now, if you are able to, this is the both are the same, okay? This is the old screen or old version of planning run, MRP, okay? Where you can see I'm able to give only one plant at a time, right? But in MD01N MRP live, you are having a facility to put multiple plants at a time. You can see here. Oh, sorry. Okay. Also, here I'm not having a facility to run the planning with material level. For that, I need to go to one other different transaction, right? That was MD02, where I'm able to give my material, my plant, but still it's one material, one plant, and below that material system will definitely do the planning. But in SAP S/4HANA MRP live, you will be able to, okay, I'm going back, you will be able to run planning, material requirement planning for multiple plant and multiple materials at the same time. Okay, so this is the additional thing that is there in MRP live, what we are talking about. Now at a very high level, I'll just try to show you something in the system so that you will able to understand how actually SAP MRP work. Okay, let's say there is one material. Okay, I'm just putting this material G01. Let me see. Okay, I'll just show you at a very high level. Okay, now this is my material, finished material in this plant, and I'm having a available stock of 130. Okay, I'm trying to put some more demand for that material, and we'll try to run the MRP. How system is doing the calculation, we will see it. Okay, I'm going to the system, and I'm putting some demand for that material. Okay, I'm putting a demand for the same material. Let's say in this month I need 100. In this month I need 100. In this month I need 100, and this month I need 100. So total demand is 400, right? I'm just saving the demand. Now if you go to the system and refresh it, you will come to know, okay, you are having a stock of 130, but you are having 1, 2, 3, 400 different demands. Now I'm trying to run the MRP to see the results, how SAP is doing the calculation. Okay, I'm going to MRP run. There are different way to do it. Okay, earlier in a classic MRP, we do have MD01, MD02, MD03, these different kind of plannings, different transaction code. But now in SAP S/4HANA, we do have only one transaction code, that is MD01N. Okay, I'm putting here material, plant and material, and I'm trying to run the MRP. Okay, let's see what happened. System is doing the planning. System, whatever we discussed in earlier, system is checking, okay, for that material, what is the stock available, right? And what is the requirement, what is the demand, all the calculation it has done and is proposing the requirements. Okay, now it's see, system is planning for this material, but below that material we do have raw material, right? So that material also system is planning based on the bill of material. So what we talked about, I'm just going back to the screen so that, yeah, here we were talking about system is checking what is the demand. Also system is checking what is the enhanced stock for all the raw material and finished material, right? And technically is doing the net requirement calculation first, right? Then system will check the lot size and do the scheduling. When which month the requirement is, based on that, system will explode the BOM, right? And try to calculate the requirement of raw material as well. Okay, I'm going back to the system and we'll see what system is proposing now. Okay, I'm going back to MD04 screen so that you will be able to see it here. Now I'll refresh it. What is happening? See, system is saying, okay, although you are having a stock of 130, the requirement in first month is 100, right? So you need to add, if you see here, the shortage is 30. Based on that, system has created one plan order of 70. Then here system has created one plan order of 100 and then 100. So if you see plan order 100, 200, 270, the requirement is 400. So 400 minus 270 is equal to 130. And also system has proposed the date. See here, it's saying, okay, you should start your plan in the first 21 because the requirement date is this much, right? If you go here inside, you will come to know, okay, your requirement is on 1st of the February, right? So for that, system is saying, for that you need to start your production on this date. For this requirement, you need to start your production on this date. That's how system is doing your net requirement calculation, lot size calculation, scheduling, and bomb explosion. Let's talk about bomb explosion. To manufacture this material, I need a raw material, right? See here, this is the raw material. This is the finished material we are talking about. System has explored it and also is saying, okay, for raw material, available stock is this much. So you no need to do and purchase. If the raw material stock is, let's say, zero, system could have created the purchase requisition for that. That's what we discuss here. System has checked everything, find out the shortages, explore the bomb, and create the purchase requisition for raw material and plan order for finished material. That's how our MRP engine works. Guys, this is at very high level I'm talking. Once we will start our end-to-end session, okay, once we will try to, where we will configure our company, our plant, the same way we will create our own, simulation plant. And then we will try to, run this end-to-end cycle so that you will understand how it works.